Great way to start off a video is a great beverage. Mine is Diet Dew. Some of these will be Coke, beer, whatnot. And this one we'll be drinking here.
This is episode 56, the jewelry box. Here are some pictures in case you can't see it up close from this view. Now let's head over to the workbench and get this project started.
Okay, so this is the jewelry box we're going to be making today. Excuse the background noise, it is nice outside, the workshop door open and some planes are flying around. But this is the jewelry box. And this is one that my grandpa made, and he made it for my mom, so that's why it's lined in pink felt and other material. Well, it's not felt, it's just some material with like cotton inside to make it real soft or something. But this project here is not signed, so can't see when that was made. Like the past candle one, I could see when it was made, but guess he didn't sign this one. Oh well. So this is just what we're going to be making today, and I'll show you how to make that. These are the patterns you'll need. One of them is for the front and back, and then the two sides. And the back is just going to be the piece of wood. It's not going to have the fretwork in it, only the front will. And then this piece, you have the top and bottom, and then I printed off 3 of these. One for the pendant thing on the top, which I'll be making out of some 1/8 inch walnut, and then the actual top with the fretwork in it, that will be out of some 3/8 material. I'll show you that in a second. And then the bottom is just the outside of it, so you'll need 3 of those patterns. The material I'm going to use is some 3/8 inch butternut here. I got it from Oak Couch Hardwoods a little while ago, and they're located in Wisconsin, and I bought it offline and bought in 3 orders so far from then, and have been pleased with each order I've gotten. And the shipping time is really fast actually, and I live in Ohio, so Wisconsin to Ohio is not super far. Like if you order it out of the United States, it might take longer, of course, but it was a pretty good service, so I was pleased with the boards. So that's what we're going to be using. And for that deer pendant thing on the top, I'll be using some 1/8 inch walnut to give it a contrast from the butternut here, and I'll be doing some other things inside the jewelry box, like the felt idea. I'll be using some black felt to align it and all that, so it has the dark and light contrast in that. So with all that, I'm going to go ahead and put the pattern onto the pieces of wood, and then I'll be right back with you to start scrolling. Alright, here's all the pieces with the patterns on. We have the 1/8 inch piece of walnut with the top pendant thing. We have the 2 sides, and then we have the front and back panel. What I'll do first is stack cut the outside box, since the back is actually going to be flat and not have the fretwork in it. And then I'll take the front piece that has a pattern on it and go ahead and cut out that. And I already said that. We have the top, and that's just the fretwork here. You don't have to pay attention to this, just leave that all solid. And then I just went ahead and put on a whole nother pattern on this one to do the outside of it. I didn't want to stack cut the top and bottom because I thought it might be a little difficult to hold on to the edge of it as I am cutting it out, so that will be a separate piece, but it's just cutting out the outside of that. So with all that, we can go ahead and drill the holes, and I'll be right back with you to start cutting them out. Alright, this piece I got here with the holes in it is the piece that's going on the top. This is an 1/8 inch walnut, so select a fairly small blade, and the smallest I have is a 3, so that'll work for it. It's not too intricate or anything like that. So just something like that, knock the speed down since it is pretty thin wood. So now I can go ahead and start cutting. Already have all the pieces cut. I stack cut the two sides, and I originally just wanted to stack cut the outside so one of them would be solid, but I forgot about that, so they both ended up getting cut, which no big deal. I have the other two sides there. The top out of 1/8 inch, which you saw me cut. The very top thing there, and then just the bottom. And I did stack cut those so it would be quicker time. So next step is to remove the pattern, and we will do some sanding. I already have the pattern off all the pieces here, and I'm going to go ahead and sand them. And I will be using the Craftsman quarter sheet sander for that. And basically just going to smooth the surfaces of them. And then I'll be right back with you to talk about the joints I will be doing to achieve the whole box to be put together, and they will be the 45s like my grandpa has there, and those will come together nicely, and it will be even closer to being done. So I will go ahead and sand these, and I will be right back with you and show you the rest of the assembly process, and then the other additional things we're going to do to it. I already have all the sanding done that's required with these pieces, and did both sides of them, because they're the same on the side, so in case I don't put the side that I cut on top, it doesn't really matter, so they're nice and sanded. The next step is to do the joints, and from the last frame you saw me that I said I'm going to do 45s on the angles, and I was contemplating on how to do it, whether I do it on the scroll saw with the angle set to 45 or do it with my miter saw. Well, I've done 45s on my scroll saw in the past, but the problem is you can't really get a nice clean straight cut. So what I'm going to do is do it on my miter saw. And what I did was I took a couple of mock pieces and cut the 45, and I have matched it up with the original box, and everything matches up nicely. So it provides a nice maybe not as clean because I have a beefier blade on the miter saw, but it provides a straighter cut. That way the joint's nice and straight when you put it together, instead of having a jagged end on there. So what I will do is go ahead and I'll show you it. I set my miter saw up to a 45-degree angle there, and I will just cut the pieces on that. And with this, using the smaller piece like this here, you do get your hands fairly close to it. So just be careful if you're doing this at home and you've never done that. But most woodworkers are smart and don't cut their hands off, but you can see your hands are inside the area where you're not supposed to be. So follow the safety guides when you're using this, because it can be dangerous. But for me, I had plenty of stability holding it on like that, then moving it down. So that provides a nice cleaner cut than doing it with the angle on the scroll saw there. So what I will do is go ahead and cut those for that, and then I'll be right back with you, and we will assemble it and then do the next couple steps. Already I have these cut, and I just put it together in the fashion that it sort of will be. So you can see that they fit together somewhat good, and if the edges aren't perfect, you can just sand them. And if you have a little gap, like I know he has a little one on some of the edges, but It's better than nothing. So I was, wondering about different joints I could have done. I didn't want to do a butt joint, just the two ends sticking out because it wouldn't have fit on the piece there. And I was also thinking about sort of like a, dovetail type of thing cut on the scroll saw, but this ended up working out alright and should be alright. So now what I'm going to do is the miter saw left some burrs on it, so I'll just take my block of wood with sandpaper wrapped around it and just sand them smooth. That way I can get rid of this and see how the fit is with them nice and clean, and then I can go ahead and glue it up. Alright, to glue it up, I'm going to go ahead and just glue these pieces up into the box form, and then I will do the top and bottom. And to do that, I'm going to be using a first time glue on this show, Type Bond, in this case number 2. And I picked this because it's a lot stronger than, like a Lean's Clear Gel Tacky Glue or something like that. That's like more of a craft glue, and I want this to not come apart and it bond really nicely. So because I'm not going to be putting any like pin nails in it like my grandpa did, so this will have to be it. So I'm just going to start by putting a bead of glue on there, and I can just use my finger to rub it around, and squeeze out's not a big deal, but it's better not to have too much. And then I will just put it together, and I will be using some quick release bar clamps to clamp it up. So I'm going to do this and I'll be right back with you. Alright, with a little bit of hassling and getting her all rigged up, it actually worked out. If you're wondering what's on the outside of that, it's masking tape. And a trick I learned about gluing stuff up, it's sort of obvious, but some of you may not know, but you just sort of lay it out in a net on your thing there on this side, and then you tape the whole thing in one line. That way when you put it together, it is all, it won't fall apart on you. So that's what I did, and then I loaded it with tons of this glue because I didn't want it to go anywhere. And again, I do have a pin nailer, but it doesn't work. It's all jammed up, and it's a cheap one from Harbor Freight, so I figure on trying to fix that someday, but this will be alright the way it is. So I did all that, I clamped it up, and it should be okay. The joints worked out pretty darn good. They're all nice and smooth and good, so we'll sit here and after it's dry I'll show you the next couple steps, where we'll be gluing the top thing onto that. We will also be doing a felt inside. Since this is pink, this is actually my mom's. The way I'm doing the color orientation is since I have the walnut top here and the butternut backer there, that's sort of a dark and light. So what I'm going to do is use actually some black felt for the inside of it, and that will make it nice contrast with the dark and light. And heck, I might even just keep this box for myself. So there are the next couple steps, and I'll just wait until that's dry and we'll do them. Alright, real quick, I just want to show you something. While the thing is still drying, the glue, I will go ahead and prepare something else that will have the felt on it and all that. That way I can, kill two birds with one stone, because that's going to take a little while to dry, so it'll speed up the process here. These are pieces that I cut to fit inside the box that you saw my grandpa's one had the pink felt or material in it. And he wrapped that, it's actually material he wrapped around like cardboard pieces, but I'm going to be using, this is 1/8 inch Baltic birch ply, and I don't have 16th or anything thinner. So what I'm going to do is, on these I'm going to paint them black on one side, that way, like this is just an example, but the sides of them where it has the fretwork, the black side of the piece will go on that, so it has the black shadow behind it. That way you don't see through it. And then the pieces on the inside I don't need to paint it black. That way I can just wrap the felt around it. That way I can just, glue the felt to the back side of it. Or heck, I could just wrap it around, but that way it's on there like that. That way it creates the shadow on that. So all I'm going to do is go ahead and paint these pieces, and then I will cut the pieces of felt and glue them to the pieces of 1/8 inch Baltic birch ply here. And that will just be a process. That way when the pieces dry from the glue, I can go ahead and assemble it to the bottom and then put the lid on and all that. And then I can go ahead and put these pieces inside the box and go from there. I'll meet you all back when everything's all dry and everything like that to assemble it some more and to get it even more done. Already have the box out of the clamps and everything went well, and I took the tape off, and surprisingly it didn't stick to the joints because of the squeeze out there. But just a little bit of sanding to make it a flat. It wobbles a tad bit, and that's just because of the they're not exactly flat and lined, you know what I'm saying, like it's uneven in the corners. So just a little bit of sanding with the belt sander or something will smooth that up. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then do some other finish sanding with the top here and then also the bottom, and we will continue to put this together, because we'll next step after I get done sanding, we'll be gluing the actual body of the box to the bottom. So it'll have to be nice and flat to do that because it wobbles a little bit. And then we'll be putting in the pieces that we painted to give the shadow on this side. Well, that's the bottom. To give the shadow, and then we'll be putting in the felt to line the inside of it. So those are our next steps. So right now I'm going to sand everything completely to 220, and then I will work on gluing this up, and then gluing in the other pieces, and then putting in the felt. And then last but not least will be the top of it. So I'll be right back with you after I sand everything and start to glue it up. So for this, the arch goes up. So I'll add the glue to the bottom of this. I'll be using the clear gel tacky glue for this. I think it'll provide a strong enough bond. And by the way, the bond that the Type Bond had for the putting this box together, that was plenty strong enough. I didn't feel like I need to added any nails to it. And I do have a pin nailer, but it is all jammed up, and it's a cheap one from Harbor Freight, and I don't know how to get it fixed. So that would have worked good for it, but it should be alright. Now to center this on here, just with my best judgment. And if you get some glue sloshed around on here, it's okay because it does dry clear. So that's no big deal. And that looks good where it's at. So what I'll do is just let it set up for a little bit and then add a brick or something on top of that. That way it can sit there and dry. And then after that's dry, I will put in the pieces of the black 1/8 inch plywood and then put the felt in. Alright, here's the box so far. It is all dry, the glue. And the next step is to put the black pieces in. And I had to sand them a little bit to test fit them. And because they were, hold on a second. Yeah, they were hair proud on that, so they would go in there. I want the black side facing the outside, by the way. That way it shows the shadow if you're looking at it, you know, from that way. That way I can glue the felt to this side of it. So I'm just going to use some regular old super glue and just glue it on here and put the felt on that after I have all these to the inside. And then I will go from there on putting the top onto this, and then we'll be even closer to being done. Alright, now we're even closer to being done. I've glued in the felt and all that, and it is, well, it's hard to see from that angle because it's all black inside, but it is all in there, and it actually turned out pretty good. The next step is to put on the top And since both sides are cut out, I guess it doesn't matter which side's the front and which one's the back. I don't really have them labeled, but I guess it doesn't matter. So to put that on, I will be using just some hinges. In this case, I have these regular old hinges that I got from Michael's craft store. I only found the smallest ones I could there, and I couldn't find them anywhere else like Walmart. And something I want to do a tad bit differently is on my grandpa's, he has the hinges like that. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a gap in the back. But since he has the inside stuff a little bit, proud, it's all sticking up like that with the gap. But what I want to do is recess in where the hinge goes a little bit, just by seeing them with the Dremel or something, to make it all flush with the lid and the actual box there. I'll just take my Dremel or something like that just to mark the spots and sand it down so I can put the hinge on there like that. And then I will go ahead and put the top on, and we'll be ready to give it a clear coat, and it'll be done. Alright folks, I see light at the end of the tunnel. This project is almost done. I have the top assembled with the hinges, and everything is pretty much done. Now is the point where we can burn on the bottom, but while that's heating up, I'll just explain. I guess I wasn't too smart when I decided to put the felt in before I finished any of this, because I originally was going to do like lemon oil with this project to bring out the grain, but just some clear acrylic will work for this. But I'll have to put on a piece of paper towel or something over top of that while I spray on this so it doesn't get all inside there. But I should have finished it before I did that, but it should be alright though. So what I'm going to do is just burn in the bottom now, and I'll just put the DCS stubby in the date, and then I will give it a clear coat, and it should be done. I'll just use some Krylon clear acrylic. And there's the final product. Thanks for tuning in on this video of the jewelry box that I recreated. Again, this is my grandpa's that he made for my mom. He had the pink felt inside of it. So on mine, I did the theme where I would do contrasting colors of dark and light. So I chose butternut as the main light color, walnut as the deer symbol on the top, and I put black felt inside. So I won't be selling this, I'll just keep it as my own. There's a couple imperfections on it, but stuff I can learn from in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this video of the jewelry box. Next video we'll be making this cool looking fan, and it's about that time of year where it's getting hot, so you're going to have to find a way to cool yourself off, so maybe a nice little fan or something. So we got two more tribute projects to do. Then episode 59 will be a scroll saw talk like the last episode 49. And then the reflection on episode 60, 50 through 60. So only two more tribute projects, and we'll be done with those, and then we'll be getting into some other projects that have to do with kitchen stuff. So be pretty cool, entertaining videos. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Dustin.
And I'm Dylan.
We'll see you next time on the Country Scroll.
Thanks again.